Alrighty, it's time to continue this portraits. I think that looks better now. The video looks better. Colors are better, I guess. What we're gonna do now is just glaze over this using red ochre. Gonna use our red ochre here. I have red ochre, orange ochre, yellow ochre out my palette. Okay. Orange ochre is just a mix of red ochre and yellow ochre. These are synthetic synthetic iron oxides. Try this out. Okay. Start the shadows just to see dark that's gonna give us too dark, then dilute it more. Can really get very dark. So I don't know what's gonna happen after this. I'm gonna go impasto and fix everything else. But for now, do some glazing. Thick over thin is just for when you're doing alla prima. The thickness, the oiliness, very useful because it prevents your brush from scraping down on your still wet or paint underneath that is still, setting itself. It's best to add more oil to your paint, especially if it must be oily, like more fluid than what's underneath, so that it doesn't, you don't scrape it off. And also I want to talk about the last topic. We were talking about Sargent, right, and his advice about adding more paint. I'm not sure what brush he was using, but I think it has something to do with that, because when you're using fine brushes, like especially like acrylic, synthetic brushes, kind of allows you to paint very thinly without needing a lot of paint. But when you're using like hog hair brushes, kinda have to use like more paint, because it kind of skips over what's underneath it and doesn't lay down the paint completely. So you need to have all of your paint at the tip of your brush to, Okay, so what I'm seeing here is we're gonna need to use some whites now. Some of these portions here are not actually absorbing to the canvas there. You can see it. Not even. I think some of these here areas here not absorbing too much like here. Gonna use white now to even that out. Things here should be warm, so I'm just gonna use the red ochre to warm this up. Oops. We'll do the old and the new way of painting. Lay down some colors, just to not only warm up the image, but also to warm up our eyes. Going on here. Most likely, usually, just leave the blushes at the end. Let's just we'll glaze that over maybe. Let's focus on first on uh, establishing our not really our establish our base tone, and like I said before, the base tone is not pink. Don't use pink. Okay, if you have like a Mediterranean guy, like an olive skin, so just mix an olive skin. That's yellow ochre. There's a little bit of blue, or a little bit of Van Dyke brown, or uh, you can mix your Van Dyke brown with your raw umber and burnt umber, like create this grayish purplish color. Basically your Van Dyke. Reds here. To some of these areas here. Get our values started, brain started up. Good that we can paint this in uh, common way that people paint right now. Uh, not alla prima direct method. I wanted to show you something. For now, let's just warm it up. Let's warm up. We can do this painting. But sometimes, I really like uh, the look, like this old painting look, like it's broken. Not really clean and not. I like sometimes this ancient looking painting like this, like everything taking off, fading, you know. I have this problem that when I watch a video and an advice comes up, I just want to try it out. Guess that's what gets me in trouble. Time it just takes me out of my growth, but so I try to fix and move forward with process. I kind of learn so, and I think that's worth it in the end. So basically, I want to leave most of this here. Things warm. Maybe we can move it warm. Be cute and chewing gummy. Cute and young. Gonna make everything look like on the previous portrait. I kind of the one I posted. Kind of a bit traumatizing to work on stuff like that. I don't know. I'm still looking for a way to paint normal people's photos better. For now, I'm just leaving that behind. Gonna focus on like I'm gonna look for. I have found a few portrait references on Pinterest with beautiful girls. Gonna help revitalize my eyes a little bit. Encourage it because right now I feel really exhausted from trying to add color to photo. It's something I wanted to do anyway, so no. It's something I wanted to try out and figure out if I can work what I can produce using that, using the techniques that people are advising. Like I like the first one, like the short that I posted. I like that because in actual viewing, it kind of looks realistic textures, but in the camera, it doesn't look right to me. So I ended up making this, developing it into like an AI portrait. Nothing bad about it. It's just that kind of bit discontent. It left me a little bit unhappy. I wanted something else. There's something in my mind I wanted for it, but I kind of can't reach for it. So most likely we'll have reds somewhere. Reds here. Doesn't look like short. Maybe she's a little bit feeling warm inside. Our foreheads here turn red when you're, spicy food, right? here, there. Shadows. Um, I'll just keep the shadow cold. Have this here, a little bit warmer here. I will have reds here. Blues. And I need to use some whites. You can see here, there's an inconsistency there. I wanna make a pale yellow now, like a desaturated yellow for this mask here. But let me see, maybe this reds here, we need to add more reds, maybe. Hello, Wald Fane, and PDD. Hello there. How are you guys doing, man? Glad to have caught your comments there because I usually don't look at comments. Hope you're doing great, guys. And thanks for dropping by. Thanks for the cheer. PDD. House prison. Sorry. So, add a few reds here for now. Really, this area here is like, right, so let's just put that down first and let it be warm there. That thing be warm. For the neck, usually the warms is like somewhere behind our necks, like here. Usually this part here is like pale. Then it goes warm there. Usually it's here, right? In the bones area here. Warm there. It's just add. Sometimes the red much darker in value than our shading here, but that's fine. You can always, fix that later. So usually here it's a little bit reddish here in the middle, and it turns into this dull skin. Red around here. Just add that there. You just feel this reds here, warm. Edges here, warm. I'm using a mix of my own recipe of a fast drying medium. So basically, it's a Pebeo painting medium, which is like I don't know what's in there. At least I think it has alkyd. It's a Pebeo diluted with uh, some mineral spirit, and then I added a little bit of quin in it. And it's been in this bottle for quite some time. It actually like turned like this. It's like the air was being sucked out, right? So I thought that I needed to use it because, dry out on me eventually. More reds here. So we kind of have our, maybe we should turn this red. I want it to be too cold. So normally this area here is a little bit cold just because of like you can look at people like most of their areas here a little bit colder. Just add a little bit of red there, which kind of turns it into this like purplish color because simply because of the blue underneath. Okay. Let me check my phone. Some things. Okay. Okay. So look at it. The colors are visible online. Let me check my phone. It kind of helps, if you have like a nice camera and you're filming while you're painting, and then you look at your painting through the camera. It kind of helps you like see things better, but it generally depends on the quality of your camera. And mine is just like a webcam, not very helpful. I'm gonna mix some yellow ochre here. Excuse me. Yellow ochre. Now I add my mix here. It's basically it's a fake it's a fake lead paint. So instead of using actual lead, you can mix calcium carbonate. Like make sure it's fine, like artist ground for artists. Like so, it should be like pigment as fine as pigment, because there are calcium carbonates that are for, for agricultural purpose. So make sure it's from an art store. uh, Mix it with just titanium white, and that's gonna make your titanium white more uh, transparent. So it kinda is, there's still the bluish element to it, which is unfortunate. And the way it reflects light is still, you really can't beat uh, lead white in terms of its molecular structure and how it reflects light. I think it's a I think lead white, it's a two-dimensional uh, pigment, meaning that it kind of absorbs it. It doesn't just reflect light; it kind of absorbs light a little bit and then just bounces up. So it has a different quality to it, and it really shows. Like, I tried painting with it, and it really shows like how more beautiful your portraits would look if you're using like lead white. So I'm currently mixing cobalt blue, lots of yellow ochre. I want to create this dull looking yellow. I kind of mixed a little bit of red there just to make it a little bit more uh, fleshy. uh, I don't know if it this works in terms of oops terms of this color scheme. I'll just trust that we can work on this. Doesn't really matter, like you can always paint over it soon or later. So what I'm gonna do, since this is opaque now, I want to prioritize filling in most of these areas. I want these areas to be colder, so it's a little bit warm. This color is a little bit warm. I don't know if you can see it. Warm. I want to make it dull. When you're saying cool, it means dull, or it actually is like has the influence of the shadow color, which in here is an orange. We gotta be careful here because we don't have our reference, and I don't want to lose the volumes here. Don't want to lose touch of volume, so I'm gonna try to maintain the shape while painting over this. So using this bluish version, just so you can see, the first one was the portrait tone, right? It was like a mix of yellow ochre, a little bit of this, so it has a little bit of red and some white. It kind of turns into this like sort of yellowish pinkish color. I added more cobalt blue to make it more cooler, right? So it turns like dull a little bit bluish. It's not really greenish, but it's there. That kind of gives us like the effect of like it's a bluish color. Just gonna use that for certain areas here. Keep things cool in certain areas here. So there's one trick that you can do when you're doing alla prima or direct method. My mistake in the past was I focused too much on light because that's what they advise us to focus on the light. But before you focus on the light, actually, you have to focus on what's underneath that light. Instead of so that kind of keeps us from painting things too light, right? Uh, it affords us the possibility to lighten things instead of darkening them. So the first step is to paint the dull color below, meaning like the plane, like this plane, is in the shadow, right? Right here, right now, it kind of looks bright simply because we have our shadows here. Basically, that would look better. We don't paint your most vibrant colors yet. Paint your dull colors first, then reserve your vibrant colors for later, for the final layers. Right now, basically what I'm doing is just painting down the base tone, which is in for skin, especially for females. It's this like bluish. Sometimes it's bluish, sometimes it's ochre. Like ignoring the reds here. Ignore the reds first, and you get this color, right? This skin, not pink, because when the skin is pink, it means that there's a lot of blood in there, right? But we don't want to add the blood right now. We want to add it later. So we don't want it to be too warm, like we don't want it to be pinkish. Let's go for the greenish, right? Let's go for the dead colors first. And that's much easier to manage than having to paint these dead colors later when we already have our warm colors down. More saturated colors down, it's kind of becomes harder. Better to just, you know, what I figured out from painting my aunt's portrait there. So right now I'm still like I'm not focusing on the brush strokes right now. I'm focusing on creating the volumes that are underneath the brush strokes. I don't want to be uh, too precious about it because I want it to look painterly, but I don't want to focus on the brush strokes yet, okay? Because that's gonna what's the best way is to like paint your effects, your brush strokes, your final brush strokes on the when you're finally like making things more solid. There's this artist. He's first an illustrator first. he also does like oil paint. I think, I don't know, illustration and this stuff is the same. It's just different media, right? And different purpose for the art, but it's actually just the same. We're just making the same art. So illustration may be about the subjects are different. We're still doing the art. You can see, I don't know if it's visible, the reds that we placed down actually playing with this dead color that we're having here, kind of creating this electricity that's, helping create more vibrancy to your, like, more energy to your painting. So again, I don't want to be too precious with it first, but we have our colors here. We know where we're going because we've decided to have this. Right? It's no, excuse me. Let me. So I have my clove oil right on my palette here, and it keeps falling off. So I'll just remove it. I'm looking for a better way to do this, but sometimes my paints are like, I'm not using, this is pure pigment that kind of drips off. There's no fillers in my pigments, and with uh, synthetic iron oxides, it kind of need like fillers to keep it, let's say, feeling the same as other normal paints, because our paints from the stores are not actually, there are pigments that actually will not like keep their shape. So when you put beside like this is like a bluish color, right? It's a dull yellow. It's better to think of colors like coming from, as if they have a root color. Like if I say yellow ochre, so a dull yellow ochre, it's for me it's so much better to think about colors like that than to name it specifically the color that they have been assigned names with. I think it's better because I know where it comes from, and so I can like having that knowledge allows me to recreate the color, and of course have it in my mind how to move either towards more yellow or towards more green, towards more purple, right? So right now everything looks bluish, right? Nothing is yellow here, pure. So it's like colors are dull. We can go more duller than this by adding gray. You can add gray or purple, which I don't want to do it right now. I think this is fine. I think what we have here good enough for our purpose. So for painting here, should we bring that out? Right, bring this out more. gonna ruin her bone structure, but we'll just lighten it up a little bit. There's a huge risk here that I'm doing. Since I don't have the reference, I might lose the original face, but that's not important. Like what Sargent said, right? Don't try to practice painting using your friends or someone you know, because that's gonna distract you, and you're gonna focus on looking for the likeness instead of your design. And I think that's also what you Pari said. Sometimes, like for example, me, I've been trying to be portrait commissions, like doing portrait commissions. It's really hard to be. You don't have enough like creative, uh, artistic liberty to change certain features. I did it with now most recently because simply because it wasn't right. It was just a free portrait because I've already sent the originals which got ruined by courier. Oh, okay. So if I want to make like a reddish version of this dull color, I could either just use it itself and just paint it over here. So it's gonna create like a clean color. Or I could mix something with red, still yellow, still coming from the yellow ochre, but without the blue. So that's gonna make our red even more richer. But for now, I'll just keep painting in this desaturated zone, saturated, because we're still painting the darkness. Before we paint the light, we paint the base darkness from which our light can uh, will give us our like what we want to see, the actual image. Kind of needs the darkness so we can create the light. Without darkness, there can be no light. Can I create darkness first? And most of this is gonna you might if you might lose your drawing or your base with this. Just remember, just find like something that you can anchor yourself on. Like for me, it's gonna be here. Setting. Ooh, dust. My place is not the cleanest. Yes, it's outdoors. It's indoors, but it outdoor has access to it. Kinda the air from the outside is just streaming in from here, and not not in the country where moisture of the forest or the trees would like catch the dust particles. I mean the city, and that just allows dust to roam free. So again, if you want to make your own white, this titanium is really the way titanium works. Like it kind of stops light right on top of its surface. It's like a one-dimensional pigment, so when light hits it, just stops there. So when you mix it with other colors, especially transparent colors, the titanium white will kind of make itself more prominent. Even if you put just a small amount of it, the titanium white is gonna seem more present instead of the pigment. That's why if you don't want to have like your paintings look bluish or modern, like if you want to make it look classic, you have to like use the glazing technique, because when you're glazing, the colored pigment is going to be more like I don't know what's the English of that. It kind of becomes in front, right? But when you mix the colors, the pigment and the titanium white is gonna overpower, not because of how much it's there, but its presence is gonna like comes in front because of how the light interacts with it. Okay, so we're here. Let me try. Don't be afraid to try out colors. Gonna mix some. I mixed this orange ochre with the blue here. And it's some blue, so it kind of looks like this brown here. Uh, it's different when you mix your own like brown. Kind of different when you're using like, let's say, burnt umber, right? Because burnt umber is a rich color. It's a rich dark color. The way light the way light bounces off of the raw umber or the burnt umber gives it this uh jewel, like something like this, right? Looks nice. So when you use like, let's say, black, you use your blacks, the black reflects light differently compared to how, you know if you create your own black. So just try it out, just experiment, look into, just try them out, see if you like them, which one you like more. It depends really what you're trying to paint, right? The orange color, and I darkened it a little bit. Want to see how it works. These colors here. The thing about this, if I wanna keep it looking like this, like a watercolory type, like a shadow, like old painting uh, image. If I keep experimenting like this, eventually I'm gonna end up with a solid, like a thick, uh, a painting with thick colors. It's gonna look, it's not, it's gonna lose this ethereal quality to it if I keep painting like this. But the advice is just it's okay to do that in the light areas. Just watch out and just keep your shadows transparent, meaning it shows off this. Gonna see the canvas. Still see the canvas. Okay, so I'm mixing a color here. I just want to keep that subtle transition there. Okay, so that's again that's calcium carbonate, artist grade. Okay, not agricultural. You can use technical grade, but sometimes technical grade has bigger particles. Keep this light here so I can burn it with red later on. Just have like a dense warmth there. So calcium carbonate, then mix it with your titanium white. Uh, I don't know about zinc white. I really like it. Zinc white has a different quality to it, different than this white, and it's useful for certain things, right? Good for a different uh, effect, like for shadows stuff. The thing is, I don't know how true it is, but I'm reading some stuff, and they say that it can cause your layers to crack or even flake off. So I'm a little bit uh, sad that that's how it is, but I'm still open. Maybe because they say that all of our pigments have zinc white in it to stabilize the pigments. It's basically a stabilizer But why would they say that it's harmful? Why would they say that it can ruin your layers if it's a stabilizer? What's going on? Am I missing something? Like there something? There conspiracy? Conspiracy with the zinc white? It's Alice. Hello, Alice. How are you doing today? I hope you're doing great today. Sorry if I can't like respond to your comments, guys, immediately because I don't have like an audio feedback for when a comment is made. But I really appreciate you guys dropping by and saying hello. You know, as artists, you know how it is, right? It kind of gets a little quiet sometimes, most of the time. We enjoy that as artists, but sometimes kind of nice to have people dropping by and saying hi. And I appreciate it, and I thank you guys for doing that. That's too much red paint there. Oh, okay. So I think I'm gonna need. I'm still in the mid. My colors is still at the mid level. Like there's no dark brown here, right? There's no dark brown, and there's just that cobalt blue there, and I'm not using it. The main color. So most of our colors here are just the range is just within uh, the midtones, value 5 to value to the higher values, right? We don't have the dark values yet. So some teachers would say just get your paints out right now immediately, but for me I think it's better to hold off on the dark colors until you actually need them. But we already used them, right, to create this Visay kind of. Right now, since we're just trying to bring this up, we want to keep in that range, right, the mid-tone range. The shadows, of course, comes from the painting. Let's try, just before I go, let's try putting down a strong yellow ochre here. We'll use pure yellow ochre before we write write paint down a white there. I want to place that yellow ochre there. Kind of looks dirty, right? Helps with the saturation. Helps with the saturation. Kind of makes us think that, you know, there's color actually there, not just because the more the color, if the colors are similar, like a grayscale, right? Here we have browns and reds, right? If there's not enough variation, our brains will eventually think that it's just a monochrome. So you kind of have to play with it, give it like blues, give it, have to hit it with some energy at some points. But that's you know, that's another topic. It's not something that I'm an expert on, but I just notice it in paintings that it's there. I don't. It's not really a science. You just have. You can just put it down. It's gonna be okay. So what happens when you're painting wet on wet is that if you paint on the surface, you kind of have to clean your brush. If you want to clean, like I want to place a new white like this, white with a little bit of yellow. I have to clean my brush because it's pulling up paint from underneath, right? Now we can use that to our advantage. We want to remove something, like minimize the amount of color of that a certain color in that area. We can use a clean brush to do that. Right now, I'm just trying to make a vibrant color here, like a fresh color. I don't want to remove the colors that we placed down. I want it to I want them to mix with each other. Can have energy going on. So the more I come back to that with the white, the more I'm pulling colors underneath it with my brush, and the more white now becomes. Right? I'm not completely just putting on more white there. I'm actually pulling the colors below. So if I keep working on it like this, I'm kind of mixing them on my brush now. I'll just wipe it with a tissue. or you can clean it with your cleaner. So let me try this orange here. I mix the orange with the yellow. Right, I just mixed this orange there. Now take note, these are earth colors, so everything is dull. See how it works with this color. So as I painted down here, I'm kind of pulling up. I trust that I'm pulling up some paint there, and then I'm just gonna move up, bring up that color. But I think this one is too much here, so I'll just mix it down first, right? It's going to create like a grayish, reddish color there below. I'm basically spreading the colors here. What's on my brush? You notice how much light it's bringing to the shadows there. I'm not too sure if that's correct or not. But having no reference, kind of just having faith here that what we're doing end up nice anyway. Just clean your brush. Clean your brush. Sometimes that's the problem when we paint here, right? And especially if there's too much, there's a lot of colors already. Want to bring up our brush from somewhere, like from the shadow maybe, and I want to bring it up. Gonna create the mud that we don't want, right? I'm just gonna, since I don't know what's going on here, I'm gonna turn this into like a, sort of unify it with this. In anatomy, usually you can always work on that later on. I just wanna keep this almost equal for now. We're back to square one. So to mix a little bit of red here with the orange again. So I'm gonna make this blood red orange. If I dilute it too much right now, I might scrape off the colors below. So again, there was two colors that we had, right? A base tone from the yellow ochre. We mixed a little bit of blue into it, the touch of this, and we created that dull yellow color right here. And then the variation is there's another variation, the more cleaner yellow ochre. And then there's the variation that goes into the blue and more red, right? So we added the cobalt blue and some red, or the orange, right? The orange is just the same. It just has a little bit of red in it. So now we have this kind of mud thing. It can be used for dull areas, but we're still keeping within that range. We're not going down too much to like a dark color like an 8, 7, or 9. We're still keeping in that 5, 6 range. So if I use this red now, here, because I want to make this warm here. I'm keeping to the value of this shadow, but bringing in more vibrancy to it. Making it a little bit more vibrant. That's gonna create this effect because this part here is vibrant and this part here is not. Part here is not. It's gonna create this feeling that this part here, the light actually is going through here, right? It kind of makes this like plastic, a silicone. If I want to remove that, just make it dull. Find a gray or a brown. Even a blue. Mix that blue in there with that red, the dull color. And we'll mix that to the base tone, keeping the value intact. We can have this dull color now that we can place here maybe. Need more of that. That thing dull there. So before it gets muddy, bring back lighten it up a little bit with our saturated color and remove it as we do it. Right? Seems like it's a little too. He wants to stay there too much, so I'll just try to remove it. Use like an even brighter color, like a bit too bright there, to mix up with it, replace it a little bit. Since it's dull, it can automatically create a dull color, white. We can always saturate that later on and just bring back the saturation. Oh, I just wanna try it. You know, just try that part there. Like it, so you can Okay. Smooth that out. Still retaining some of that color, so it's not really going back to the same thing. Lightening it up a little bit, light into that area, so the nose doesn't look too silicone. But it's so nice. I really like that. You know, to be honest, I like the effect that it looks like light is going through her nose. You don't need, again, you don't need saturated paint to achieve this effect. We're still like staying within the earth tones, but we can achieve vibrancy just by playing with the colors around it, by using dull and rich color, right? At that same uh, value range. By keeping within that value range and adding same color, like the same color, I mean, like for example, it's red ochre, right? So we're coming from that as the source, right? The red ochre. Then there's a red ochre mixed with a darker color, reaching a certain value, but it's more duller than another version of it. And then we pair both of them, we put them side by side. Like, for example, this effect gonna make something look like that. There's also another trick where you can, the edge here, right? You can make this dull, this color here, dull. Instead of using like a yellow, but our yellow is already dull in our context, right? We already decided uh, from the start that we're gonna use this yellow ochre mixed with that blue there, right? So it's we gonna establish the dull base yellow. That's why when we add like red or something here that has that element of uh, warmth to it, can automatically makes that thing like look like glowing. Like for example here, if I add this red here, just the red orange mixed with pure red ochre without blues, then pure yellow ochre without blues, and then just add it there, which oh, this yellow has a blue, so it kind of produces that contrast automatically. Our brains can tell, our minds, our conscious minds may not be able to tell, but in the form of feeling, we see it, like we we feel it, that this part here is warmer. I can add more vibrant red there and just compete with the color here, but if the yellow here is pure, and if I compete, find a red that is more like saturated, warmer, that's what they call warm and cool, right? Not to me, it's not warm and cool, it's also dull, and not just warm and cool, it's also dull and rich. Just instead of competing with the yellow here, looking for a more saturated red, just pair it, just put colors around it, use colors around it that are dull. That automatically makes our colors here like more warmer. I can I can do this also, just paint it down and then lighten it later. Mix it down with a lighter color. We getting to smooth here? I don't think so. Like you can use smoothness. Like some people are afraid of smooth transitions. You can actually use it. I think it's much more. I don't know. We'll just talk about it in the future. I wanted to explore it more. Like in Sargent's paintings, you can see the brush strokes, right? But the shading is actually true, right? I'm not creating like a 2D. It's not creating like 2D shapes. There's still like transitions that you can see. Very subtle transitions even. Your paintings doesn't have to look like this 2D painting, like everything is like blocked in blocks. Okay. So again, guys, thanks for dropping by. And my neck is actually, I'm having a stiff neck right now. Like my neck is strained right now, and I don't want to push my neck too far because I'm holding my back, like trying to keep my back from hurting, and instead now my neck taking on the brunt of the tension. I don't want to push it too far. I don't want to hurt my neck and spend 2 weeks off of the easel just because I hurt my neck. I'm having a stiff neck right now. So thanks guys again for dropping by and saying hello. I appreciate it a lot actually. So I'm gonna shout out to Wald P. Funny. Wald P. Fane? Funny. I don't know. Sorry. PDDs. Uh, and it's at Alice. It's at Alice. Alice. Thanks again, guys, so much for saying hello to this poor artist. Blessings to you guys, and I'll catch you next time.